sometimes crappy marketing decisions from big companies like BMW can be a blessing in disguise. Here we are again.
Let me sit my stupid ass down. Bro, what am I doing? I'm in pain. I can't even feel my legs no more.
Today we're in the middle of an exhaust swap, but we're doing it for multiple reasons. A, if it fixes our rich running issue and our terrible smell coming out of the back of the car, and B, if we notice any differences in performance or sound, which will be a lot of fun. And this particular situation explains why sometimes crappy marketing decisions from big companies like BMW can be a blessing in disguise. Let me explain. This is my 1999 BMW 323 IS, and it came with a 2.5 liter M52 motor. Now before 1996, I believe, maybe it was 97, I think it was 96, the E36 lineup consisted of 4-cylinder 318s, the 325 mid-tier model, the 328 high-end model, and then you had the M3 at the top. Now, especially in the US, the M3 and the 328i used very similar motors and very similar exhaust systems. But in 96, when I updated from the M50 motor to the M52, the mid-tier model, which was the 325, basically used the same motor as the 328 with a shorter stroke. Now, BMW being a business and especially trying to sell luxury vehicles, they have their price points and their tiers set in a way that they want to encourage people to spend the most money and buy the highest tier trim that they can. When they try to sell two models that have very similar power numbers but have different price points, that can be a problem. So what they did is they included this really restrictive exhaust on the 323 model, and they changed the name from 325 to 323 to make it seem like there was a bigger difference between 323 to the 328. Now, for the astute businessman buying this car brand new and impress their clients as they drive them around, that might be enough to encourage them to just spend the extra money and finance a 328 over a 323. But for people like me and you, all that means is that when you buy a 323 to save some money over a 328, which are being taxed like crazy right now, especially in the Bay Area, by simply swapping over from the 323 exhaust to the 328 exhaust, you can unlock a decent amount of power and just have a better driving experience overall. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing insane, but this new 328 exhaust system combined with some other things that we're going to do are just going to make the car more fun and enjoyable overall. Now, here are the facts from what I've gathered. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I haven't seen a ton of information on this swap, and I want to show you guys exactly what I'm learning as I go through it. First off, I have this exhaust is from a 96 328i C convertible. I'm not sure if the sedans in the coupes / convertibles have the same exact exhaust length. You have the exhaust manifolds, which connect up to this mid-pipe section, which is exactly the same on the 323 and the 328. I'm hoping that this exhaust clamp works on here. It looks like it will. Then we have two catalytic converters on the 328 exhaust, where we only have one on the 323. That alone seems like it would make a significant difference. Then again, keep in mind on my particular setup, this is an aftermarket cat that was welded in here by a 2-year-old, or at least what it looks like. I'm sure with the 20 minutes of practice, I could probably do a better weld than that if I took my time. California guy tip, the muffler shop wanted over $1,000 to cut this aftermarket cat out and put a new one in. This new exhaust cost me $350. This is why I always recommend learn how to do stuff yourself. Yeah, you could even pay someone to swap the exhaust as long as you source a new stock exhaust. This has 124k miles on it and was recently used to pass Smog by the previous owner. You'll also notice a big difference between the two is that the 323 exhaust takes 3 cylinders each and squashes them down into this tiny diameter pipe, which is actually a smaller diameter than the two pipes from the header. Maybe it's the terrible setup from the welder, but I'm pretty sure it's similar from stock. And then you have a single pipe all the way through with this crazy flattening. But yeah, 328 is a true dual pipe setup all the way through. Just like that. One thing to be aware of, there is this active exhaust setup on the back of both cars. If your car is older, you might have a vacuum hose that plugs into that. Could be cracked, mine is, which I think could be the source of another small vacuum leak that I'm going to solve. But what you can actually do, if you look up online, it's called the golf tee mod, which basically just means unplugging this vacuum hose and sticking a golf tee in it to completely seal it and plug it off. That means that this valve is open at all times when you start the car, instead of just when you rev it over 2,500 RPM. There's a little bit of debate over if closing that exhaust valve increases low end torque or not. Personally, I don't think it would make that big of a difference. And also, I'm going to replace that back section anyways, and I can't think of too many aftermarket muffler sections that have that exhaust setup. So yeah, do what you will. But other than that, the swap should be plug and play. The only things that you will have to do are, like I was saying, transfer this over and the O2 sensors. You need to make sure on any car post 96 and later, you need to make sure you have a pre-cat O2 sensor and a post-cat O2 sensor. So obviously the 328 used 4 O2 sensors, one in each header and one after each catalytic converter. In our case, we're going to use just one side. So there's a bung installed on the exhaust manifold that we're going to remove and place the pre-cat O2 sensor into that bung. And then we're just going to swap this one over to the same side of the exhaust system so that it's accurate. Post-cat O2 sensor and all the wiring should still remain in pretty much the same place, but you do have to swap the pre-cat O2 sensor wiring over the top of the transmission, which I'm about to attempt, and I'll let you guys know how that goes, because the positioning of it is significantly different. Very close to the rear of the motor versus midway down the car. You also want new exhaust gaskets, like this one. I'll drop links to them in the description, but this is for the left side. This one goes inside the pipe, and then we already have the existing one over here, which I'm going to use for now. I have a new one on order for the right pipe. But yeah, that way you won't have any exhaust leaks. And we're going to use a little clothes hanger trick. Just basically bend this into a semicircle, and we're going to use it to basically reach over from the passenger side of the transmission to the driver's side, hook the sensor wiring, and then pull it across so that we can locate it on the proper side.
The next day.
You gotta excuse my neighbor getting their lawn cleaned. So everything's back together. We're up late last night just getting everything put back exactly the way it came out. It was all actually pretty straightforward. We got lucky in that our exhaust gasket for the right side showed up as we were working on the car. And on top of that, I found another vacuum leak. I feel like older BMWs are just gonna be notorious for vacuum leaks. But we found another one. It's the line that runs to the active exhaust in the rear. I was going to eliminate it, but I'd have to remove the intake again in order to fully access it. So instead, I found some extra T connectors, some extra length of vacuum tubing, and I reconnected the whole system. So if everything is correct, the active exhaust system should still be working. So actually, I'm going to start the car up and we'll actually visually see if the flap closes when the car starts up. I'm really hoping, and I think we did finally figure out our major issue, because the car barely didn't pass smog last time. So solving those vacuum leaks and replacing it with some good OEM cats, I think we should be in perfect shape. Let's go. Exhaust valve is closed. It doesn't smell like death anymore. I'd say we solved our issue. So we're gonna go drive it for a bit, fill it up, get it smogged, and then go straight to AAA and get this thing registered, or try to. Here we are again.
Let me sit my stupid ass down. Bro, what am I doing? I'm in pain. I can't even feel my legs no more.
Well, unfortunately, guys, if this car was an automatic, we failed. But since it's a manual, this car is officially smog legal. Let's go. Now we're heading straight to AAA to skip the DMV line and hopefully get this thing registered. Hopefully there's no snags over there.